We can start with Paul as Coach gets settled in.
Coach, obviously you're in the portion where you start playing teams again, see them for a second time, and I know you don't see a whole lot of them, but what's kind of the psyche of your team when you go back on the road and face a team that you handled pretty easily in your SEC opener? Just how thin is that line to get their attention and to erase that first game?
You hit the nail on the head. That's what we're going to have to fight, is the approach, the psyche of individually and certainly collectively of this team having to go through that. Very happy we won, weeks ago when we did to open SEC play, but each game, which we all know, we've been around it long enough to understand that each game is its own little chapter in your season, and what happened in that game really is fairly irrelevant weeks later. Everybody gets better as the season progresses, and you could argue it could hurt your mental, because of taking your foot off the gas. And then if you just look at their record at face value as a young person and you beat them the way you did, the obvious to the coach is we're going to have to fight that, all preparation. And you would think, having an older group, like a lot of us do now with the portal, et cetera, they would understand that. But we'll see. You asked how. I don't know. We haven't been through that yet. This will be our first go around, having to play someone twice, and they're snake bitten almost. Auburn, they had a chance to win the game against, I think they're ranked second or maybe first, second, I think, at the time. And then last night with Florida being fifth and, leading for 39 plus minutes at home. And, one of those games that you relive, and, one little possession, one little bounce, and the game changes and your outlook and your feel good changes. And so for us to get our guys to have the right mentality will be a big deal. But at the same time, why wouldn't they? We're coming off a loss. We need to find a way to win another SEC game, and certainly on the road makes it even more difficult.
We'll stay front row left with Benjamin and then Sam.
The schedule's obviously been very tough, but it seems like on the road, starting games has been a little bit of an issue. We saw it with Auburn, and then on Tuesday night with Tennessee. Mentally or whatever it is, what do you think might be going on, and what can be fixed to help them start a little bit faster away from home?
Yeah, as a staff, we've talked about it since the Tennessee game, and we need to fix it, from the top down. We've started well at home most of the time in these SEC games, but for whatever reason, it's still a small sample size. Against Vandy, I think we were fine, coming out of the gate, so it's 3 games. But we definitely don't want it to continue, because when you let the crowds get into the game, as much as you'd like to think it's not a distraction and your team's mentally tough and can handle those type of things, in reality, it's why the home teams win more than the road teams. That's part of the reason. And if you can get off to a good start and build your confidence and keep the crowd at bay, if you will, a little bit, that gives you a better chance. So certainly that will be something that we'll be talking about heading into Saturday's game.
Yeah, you talked about after the Tennessee game about how there weren't really enough paint touches, and that maybe affected the offense particularly early. I guess just how important is that for this offense to get those paint touches, and how it affects just everything?
Yeah, after review, a lot of it had to, got to give them credit. They had a lot to do with, some of our struggles. We didn't help ourselves as much as we needed to. We weren't willing. We're definitely able and capable, but we weren't willing to be tough on offense, to be physical on offense, to try to, put them on their heels a little bit. We were like an eggshell on offense. We just stayed on the outside of it. We didn't get down in, to the softer part. We never got downhill enough talking about paint touches, and we didn't put enough pressure on them defensively, and I'm going to keep saying it. They had a lot to do with it. They did a very good job in guarding the ball and off the ball. They were extremely physical, not letting us, get to our spots and to where we were trying to go. And it's not as if we didn't know that they were going to do that going into the game, but it's easy to talk about it and to prepare for it. It's another thing, to do it against a team like that. So we'll definitely, hopefully, learn, how we need to be more aggressive in terms of getting downhill and getting more ball reversals. Certainly we want to score early. That's the other thing. I didn't think for whatever reason, when they scored a goal too many times in the first half, we didn't respond. We walked the ball up the court, and that's not what we're trying to do. And they made that decision on the court, and that's not acceptable. We've got to try to get the defense on their heels a little bit by us pushing it back at them and allowing us to flow into offense rather than having to start from scratch against a team that pressures like they do. And then if you don't get your first couple catches where you want, you're kind of behind the eight ball a little bit, and that happened way too much.
Go to coach's right with David and then Jacob.
South Carolina's been putting themselves in positions to win games and not quite finishing it. What makes them dangerous now that they're getting this close to making some wins?
I mean, everybody's dangerous in this league, and if you're not hooked up and ready to play your best, you're going to get beat. I don't care if it's at home or on the road. I don't care what the records say. Everybody in the league talks about how daunting it is to look at if you get ahead of yourself and look at what's next. And, people talk about our schedule. Everybody's got it. I think USC going into the SEC play had ranked the hardest schedule left in the country. You look at theirs and it's like, wow, when does it end? And it's for everybody. So the respect factor's got to be at the all-time high. The understanding that they're hungry, they're starving for a win. They're coming off number 2, number 5 losses, 3-1 at home. Certainly it'll be talked about how the game unfolded here. So they'll have plenty of motivation. And like I said earlier, we better too. We're 3-3 in the league. We want to get to 4-3, and we want to win another road game. And it's hard. It's not going to be easy. But what we do today and tomorrow, I think, will directly impact the outcome of the game. Certainly physically, but probably equally important is just our mental approach the next couple days.
Murray Bulls did not have a very good game in y'all's first matchup. What do you think y'all did well the first time? What are you going to have to do this time to kind of slow him down?
Yeah, I mean, I got as much respect for him as anybody in the league. I love how he plays the game. I don't know him personally, but the things that I've read and saw snippets of, I mean, he seems like a really good kid and a great leader, and all about their program and their teammates and their coaches. So, he's what it's good about, college basketball. And again, I don't know him, but I'd imagine, he's not happy about that, and he's going to do everything he can to make sure we see and feel, as good a player as, he is. And so it'll be a challenge. We were very physical with him. We bumped him off his spots. We ran people at him. We just tried to never let him, get to where he wanted to go. We would never let him get comfortable. We try to take him out of his, normal game, if you will. But, it'll be a little bit different, I'm sure, more of a challenge at their place.
Back to Paul and then over to Danny Pete.
The other night against Tennessee, Josh struggled early on, but then he finished the night hitting 4 of 8 from three-point range. What do you obviously you've talked how much confidence you have in him, but how much do you say to him, or are there things you see on film that are different from last year? Obviously, teams have a better scouting report on him this year, but what do you see from your standpoint from the offensive side?
I mean, I when I watch film, I make clips of all of our players, Josh, Cam, all the way down the line, and obviously there's only so many hours in the day. I don't, we watch film as a team, and then sometimes we watch extra film with individuals, different days of the week, etc. But for me, like, with Josh, it's the whole game. Like people want to talk about, scoring and shooting and all of that, but for me, how I look at it is, just getting him to understand that regardless of what's going on the offensive end, it can't influence the other facets of the game. That's what everybody wants to focus on. And that's going to be the case for years to come, outside of our walls for the most part is, scoring it, percentages, assists, the things that are in the stat sheet. But, if he's like, which I know he is, trying to be a complete player, it's just everything else. Don't let something on that end affect your energy on the other end or your effort or your being on top of the game plan. And that's always a struggle for everybody, for the most part. And that's an area where I think he can get better and he can mature as a two-way basketball player. And it's something that, I'm on him about regardless of what's going on down there, man. You got to be on top of, the defensive game plan. You got to be checking your man out. You got to be, rebounding down. You got to be getting the ball out of the net and putting some pressure on the defense. There's so many other facets of the game. And we've been working with him like all of our players, and that's what I want from him is to just not let it influence, the other end of the court. In terms of how teams are defending them, I don't know. I mean, the cat was out of the bag pretty early last year, so I don't know if anyone's come up with, a solution. Certainly he's circled on everyone's report, and he's getting the best defender, and he's getting a lot of physicality, but it was that way last year too.
Time for a couple more. We'll go to Danny P, second row, right?
Coach, in terms of Keyshawn, I know we've talked a lot about how the improvements he's made from last year to this year and coming back strong in the post, but what is his ceiling? How much better do you think he can be, and what are you looking for from him?
Yeah, I thought the Tennessee game, the size and the weight of their bigs gave him some issues that evening. He just didn't quite get his feet underneath him in some of the possessions, not just with the ball, but without it. He just wasn't as balanced on both ends of the court, and it affected him. And, he's still first year with major minutes, so it's still a learning curve for him. And knowing him, knowing the type of work that he's put in, he'll learn and grow from that experience and be better next time.
Anything else for Coach? All right.
Thank
See
you.
guys.